Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. I'm recording this like right after the Lars and the Real Girl review, so I still haven't eaten anything. I'm still hungry, and I'm just mentioning that because this might be short. I don't know. So this was a manga series I got as a Christmas gift like a year ago actually, and I was really excited, and then I just didn't end up reading it. I feel like it's hard for me with reading stuff where it's like once I get into it, I'm like locked in and I zoom through it really fast. And I knew that I'd like this, of course. Twilight Princess was my first Zelda game, and it's also still my favorite. So I knew, of course, I would like this. And I've heard that the Zelda mangas are pretty good too. But I don't know. I was doing other stuff. I played a lot of Pikmin. But then I decided yesterday, like, okay, I'm finally gonna start reading it. So I did. It doesn't take very long. There's like 11 of these volumes, but they're like pretty short, or at least the first one's short. I don't know about the rest. And it's really good. I wish I was able to record this the day that I read it and I could give you like my full-on reactions. I was so excited, but like I had to graduate college, so I didn't have time to make a review. So I'm making my review now. I think I forgot some stuff in the plot, but I literally have the book like on my lap right now, so I'm gonna like kind of literally follow along with it, not describing you plot by plot every single little detail or whatever, but like kind of use it as my guide to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So the thing with this manga series, and I'm sure it's like that for all the Zelda ones too, is that it kind of assumes like immediately that you have played the games. So this is the warning right now I'm going to give. I'm not only going to be spoiling like, the manga that I'm talking about. I'm going to be spoiling the game. I thought it would have been already. Like before I read it, I thought like, okay, I'm going to probably be blabbing about the game and making comparisons and whatever. No. They literally spoil like the big reveal from the end of the game in like the first like 5 pages in. I'm not even like kidding. It's crazy. Of like a certain character where it's like, okay, this is what they look like. This is their name. This is their title. And it's like, bro, some of these things you don't find out till the very end. Come on. So I feel bad for anyone that picked this up that like hasn't like played the game and is like reading this to check this out, because I mean sometimes I do this too, where not with games, like I don't really read manga based on games, but like you know how it's like sometimes like the book was made before the movie or vice versa or whatever, where I'll get into something and I'm like, this is cool, and then I go look for the actual thing, and then it's like, you could be spoiled or whatever. I think the only other video game mangas I've read are the Pokemon Adventure ones, which get like pretty dark and stuff, but I didn't really get into them. I just remember one of them, like the main character is like has the ability to talk to Pokemon or something. It seemed cool though. I don't know if I'll get back into it. So yeah, the spoiler that I'm giving now is that everything in the game's probably gonna get spoiled for me talking about these. I don't know if I'll play the game on this channel too. I have it on Wii U and on Wii, but I don't have like a connector thingy. Alright, but we're gonna talk about this. And I'm assuming there's gonna be plot things and like things they add that are like different to the games or like exclusive to the manga or whatever. It's also been a hot minute since I've played the game. I played it like 5 years ago. Like I remember a lot of the big stuff with the story, but like I don't really remember the beginning 100%, so there might be things that I talk about where I'm like, I don't remember this, and then it's like something that happened in the game. So I'm not going into this 100% where like I've memorized every detail from the game. Okay, I'm finally gonna start talking about it. So it starts with this backstory stuff about Midna, and basically it gives you the whole like visual scene of like when Zant takes over the Twilight realm and Midna gets turned into an imp. I think it's going on things by like chronological order, which I think is kind of cool, because all that stuff, is supposed to happen before like the actual plot of the game start. I think that stuff, like you find out about Midna being turned into an imp or seeing it, is like the middle of the game or something, if I remember right, and you don't actually see him really like completely do everything. But it gives this whole like backstory, which I kind of forgot about. Like I remembered about the like the Twilight realm and like the mirror and stuff. But I like that it actually explains things of like, oh yeah, there's like these wizards, they try and take the Triforce, and the goddesses get all pissed about it. And I'm going to be talking about like images. I'm not going to show anything from the manga, but I'm going to talk about like certain panels and stuff. The pages also aren't marked in here, but I guess you'll know which volume it's from. There's this cool image where it's like the hand of one of the goddesses. I don't know which one. And it's like pointing to like this spiral of light, and like the light spirits are around it. And I think that's kind of it just looks really cool, basically like sending the spirits of light to seal away all the like evil wizards in the mirror to the Twilight realm. I keep wanting to say, like, it's called the Mirror of Shadows and they're sent to the Twilight realm. I keep wanting to say the Shadow realm like it's Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's not. I like the way that the spirits are drawn. I kind of like, they're a big thing in the game where you have to like go find them, and it's about like purifying the land or whatever, but I kind of forgot what they looked like. I like how they're you know how like manga, you know, they're like, it's like black and white and stuff. But the spirits, because they're made of light, they're actually just kind of like line art pretty much. And I think that's just like a cool look. Like it's these very like thin lines and everything. It makes them look very delicate. And I could totally believe like, yeah, they're made out of light and stuff. If you hear any like book shuffling, that's just me trying to go to other pages. So it goes through of like, okay, the worlds develop separately, like the Hyrule royal family like knows about the Twilight realm, but like no one else knows about it. It's like legends and whatever. And then it starts with Midna, actually. And this is what I literally meant when I said like things get spoiled immediately. Like you don't know it's her at first, you just see someone in the Twilight realm, which is kind of cool to see, like to see it, which is cool. But you go to like the next, like a couple of pages in, and it's just her in her like her true form, and she's like, it's literally like, my name is Midna, the people call me the Twilight Princess. And it's like, cool, we're spoiling what, not specifically like about how she's the Twilight Princess. Like I remember she jokes about it to Zelda like early on in the game, but I mean, you do figure out like, okay, yeah, she is the princess of the Twilight realm and whatever, and like her true identity. I don't think that's saved till the end, or like her name, but it's more specifically that her final form, like she gets changed back into herself from being like a little imp like at the very end of the game, where it's like a big deal. Like even Link's stunned, and I remember she says something like, oh, am I so beautiful you're like speechless or whatever, besides the fact that, you know, like he can't talk. And it was a big shock to me too, like she's this like silly little creature, and then she's like, whoa, she's like this humanoid person actually, which always threw me off, because like you'd expect from her appearance that she'd sound more mature. Like I thought her voice, you know how it's like super high pitched and stuff, like when you first meet her, I thought that was just how she sounded like as her little like imp form or whatever, but no, that's like that carries over to when she talks too. So that's just how she sounds. I feel like it does not match her appearance at all. And it throws me off when I'm reading her lines in the manga, because you get a bunch of dialogue from her early on. And I keep wanting to read it in like a normal sounding voice, or like, I don't know, like slightly deeper. Not like super deep though. And then I remember like, oh yeah, she's supposed to have that like very giggly high-pitched voice, and I'm like, no. But yeah, it spoils her appearance immediately, and that was just really funny to me. I was surprised. And it's about her describing about the Twilly having like magical powers. I mean, the word isn't like used yet, but I think that's like what the people of the Twilight realm were called, and about how like she's their leader, and like the person with the strongest magic is in charge, and about how she, like, I don't remember in the game if she was like an actual princess as in like literally royalty, but no, they do mention about the former king being her dad, so she is literally like the next and like actually the princess. And of course Zant is like the royal advisor that gets mad about Binda being chosen. Something else I find interesting is in these like early panels of her and stuff, we see her accompanied by this wolf. It's described later on as a golden wolf. I just assumed it like I don't know, looked like Link's wolf form or something. But it does actually look like it. Like, it has a lot of the same patterns and everything. So I just find that kind of interesting. That it pretty much looks like him. Like, that's her, like, only companion and stuff. And then they make it so, like, Link keeps seeing images of it throughout the first volume, up until the point, like, at the end where he, like, actually gets transformed and ends up in, like, the Twilight realm and stuff. But I just find that kind of funny. I think the wolf and her wolf ends up getting, like, destroyed or something later. I don't remember. I think it's in, like, the confrontation with Zant. Her wolf gets, like, disintegrated. So it's kind of nice she finds it again in finding, like, Link, you know? But it's like this whole backstory thing where Zant takes over and all the, like, the people get changed into those monsters that have the helmets that look like the, what is it, gosh, I don't remember, like, that helmet she wears. I remembered what it was earlier, because it has a specific name, but it's, like, her watching everyone get transformed, and she, like, kind of freaks out about it, and she, like, tries to fight Zant. We actually see her use magic and stuff. It's cool. But she loses, and she mentions about how he's, like, stronger. I'm assuming that's because, like, I remember Ganondorf isn't even mentioned in this, like, at all, except for, like, I think one part when it's talking about Link's backstory, actually. But I'm assuming that's the reason Zant was so strong, because I remember him being, like, the final boss fight. I don't remember how he was, like, completely connected with Zant, though. And then it ends with Midna asking for someone to save her and to save her, like, homeland. It's just interesting because, like, when you see her at the beginning where she's giving her backstory and who she is, she seems so calm and, like, worried about her people and probably really nice. And then I remembered how she is in the actual game when you finally meet her, and she's kind of a tsundere and stuff, and, like, really, you know, really mean to Link at first. So it threw me off not only seeing her in her natural form, but seeing her, like, almost peaceful and everything, and, like, she's worried about her people and stuff. So then after that whole, like, backstory, it's, like, a bunch of stuff that's kind of like the beginning of the game with Link, where he's, like, doing chores for people and, like, Ordon Village and the kids and everybody. I don't, like, 100% remember all of these characters, but it's also, like, been a minute. At least they, like, all kind of looked pretty familiar. And the other thing that throws me off with this, which I forgot they do this when there's, like, manga adaptations of games, is, like, when the main character can talk. No, Link not only can, like, speak and has full sentences and everything, but he also has, like, a backstory and stuff. And I'm assuming this is it's got to be a manga exclusive thing, because I do not remember him having this, like, he has this, like, super dramatic backstory that, like, gets revealed towards the end of the first volume of... I was curious about it at first, because he kept having these lines, like, he's, like, clearly haunted by something, and he mentions about darkness, and now he's like, oh, I'm in a world of light now, and everything's okay. And it made me think, like, are they gonna make it that he, like, came from the Twilight realm originally or something, like, weird? But in actuality, I'm just gonna, like, skip straight to that part. I need to, like, go back to it too, where it's basically, like, he grows up in this, like, small village in the desert where it's him and a bunch of other people. They're, like, training to be swordsmen or whatever. They're, like, on the borders of Hyrule or something, and it's that one of them, they decide to go to this, like, temple to find this magic sword. At first I just assumed, like, is it gonna be, like, I wouldn't think it's, like, the Master Sword. It's given, like, a specific name. I didn't, like, recognize it or anything. But I'm wondering how important it's supposed to be, because it's basically, like, they go try to find this sword and to pull it out. And Link, you know, he's got, like, the Triforce on his hand and stuff. And I think Elia points out early on, like, oh, hey, isn't that the crest of the royal family? And he's like, I don't know. Like, he's, like, trying to dodge the questions about it or whatever. But when he goes to pull this sword in his, like, homeland... actually it does kind of look a little like the Master Sword. It's got, like, the diamond and everything on it. It's probably not. Like, it looks older. But, like, the piece of the Triforce on his hand, like, glows as he pulls it out, and he pulls it out. That's why I assumed, like, okay, is it, like, the Master Sword or something? It also helps it's not, like, all this is black and white. I can't see it colored. But he's able to pull it out. And then there's this creature he describes as a death guard. You know what? Actually, maybe it is the Master Sword. No, I'm looking at the panel because there's this like creature he describes as a death god that actually does look super threatening. That comes out and it pulls him in, and then apparently everyone else in his village, like the entire village, like completely disappears. So it's basically like Link has all this skill of like, oh, because I pulled the sword out, everyone got swallowed up in darkness and they're gone, and I'm like the one survivor or whatever. And the whole reason he like goes to Orden Village is to like try to start a new life and stuff. And he like, it's kind of sad. He like enjoys his like super peaceful life with everybody, and he doesn't want it to end. And then of course the kids get kidnapped, and then all the monsters show up, and then he gets turned into a wolf, and Midna finds him, and from there he's got to be like locked into the plot, It's just interesting reading him having this perspective in this, because like I mentioned, Twilight Princess was my first Zelda game, and I know there's others where they start off kind of peaceful, and then the big thing happens, and it's like, okay, you gotta do your stuff or whatever, the story starts. But I remember the beginning of Twilight Princess always felt like really slow to me, and I thought, man, this is kind of boring. I want to start the game, and then of course the game starts, because it gives you like a couple of days where like things are chill. I don't remember if the beginnings of some of the other ones are like this slow. I remember Wind Waker's kind of chill at first, where you go to find your sister, and then the pirates show up, and then I think one of them your sister gets kidnapped, and then the plot starts from there. But I don't remember it being super slow. And then with Skyward Sword, it's like this big festival you have to prep for, and then things go wrong during it. But I remember with Twilight Princess, it feels slow, so it's kind of funny having that contrast where, like, Link in this is like, this is so nice, and with me playing, I'm like, when can I start fighting shit? But anyway, when Link pulls out the sword, there's this creature that shows up. I don't remember the title, but it's the guy that you do sword training with. I think he's supposed to be, like, the Ocarina of Time version of Link or something, where he's like the big skeleton dude that has like the vines and stuff on him. I recognized him immediately in the panel. I'm like, wait, I know this character. That's why I was like, huh. But he ends up like grabbing Link's hand, and then he gets pulled into something. It's I think it's just described as darkness, and then from there he somehow survives that, and then like everyone else is fine. So that's like his whole backstory, pretty much, that he was like kind of hiding from like the villagers throughout the whole thing. But he's like clearly haunted by it. He's reading these like magic books or whatever. There's like a part where he tells Colin about them, of like, yeah, I don't know how to read these or whatever. But in actuality, he describes it as like he's trying to find out how to change darkness to light. I think it's pretty much like he's trying to figure out how to restore his family and friends and stuff. So that's the backstory he's given. I don't know how much it's going to be brought up in like future volumes, or if this entire first one is just like, okay, we're giving backstory for everyone, because they already gave Midna's at like literally the start. But like most of this is like him chilling with the kids and stuff, which is cool. I forgot there was like 4 or 5 of them, and then of course they end up getting kidnapped later, and then he has to go rescue them, and that's where the plot starts. And I wonder if my opinion on any of these like minor characters is gonna change for me. Like the one, I think his name was Talon, that like is like the really rowdy one that wants to be like Link's apprentice. I mean, in this he wants to be Link's apprentice. I think I found him kind of annoying. Oh no, it's Tallow, not Talon. Like in the game, I also find him kind of annoying here, where he's like kind of a brat. And Colin, I remember, because he's the one that's kind of more shy, and he's like pretty much the same here, except there's like a fight between the kids at one point where Colin's called out for being like, oh, you try to be nice around the adults so they like you or whatever, and I'm like, oof. And then I remembered Beth because she has like the the freckles and stuff and the short hair with the clip. She has a crush on Link in this. I think she also, I can't remember in the game if she had a crush on Link or she had a crush on Colin. Um, and then there's the one that looks like a baby that doesn't have like any lines. I think his name is like Mallow or something. Um, he's kind of funny in this because he doesn't really do much, except there's one part, I think, where he actually does something where he just, oh, no, wait, there's a speech bubble. He does actually have dialogue. I don't really hear it that much. I mean, see it that much. There's a part where Tallow's trying to fight Link, and then, Mallow's behind him and, like, pokes him in the butt, and then Link loses or something, and it felt like an anime gag a little bit. But yeah, he doesn't have much dialogue. I always found him kind of creepy. I feel like the art style of, like, the game itself was occasionally kind of creepy. Like, you know, this is the one where everyone looks, like, super, like, as realistic as possible, right? And this was also just how I assumed the rest of the series was, because I hadn't played any of the games. So that was a surprise to me when my second game was Wind Waker, which is, like, the one with the cell shading that looks super cartoony. Like, I love Twilight Princess and everything, but it's so, like, gloomy and, like, realistic looking that I almost kind of wish that I had a different game, or even like something like Wind Waker as my first one, like something like a little more chill, like art style wise or like vibe wise. It's just that I feel like that would be the same as like if let's say Majora's Mask was like my first game instead of like Ocarina of Time as an example. But no, I do love Twilight Princess though. It has like one of my favorite stories. I think my second favorite is probably like Skyward Sword. That one got me a bit emotional. But yeah, the kids are okay, and then there's Elia, and I'm actually okay with her here. I like hated her in the game. I don't know, I found her kind of annoying, and I remember when you first meet her, she's like taking care of Epona, and she still does take care of Epona here. And she like gets mad at Link, if I remember correctly in the game, like as soon as she's introduced, because she's like, oh, you got Epona injured. Like she sounds like she cares more about Epona than Link. I don't know, I found her kind of annoying. And then here she's fine. Like they do the scene where she like like goes to meet up with Link, and she's like with Epona and like cleaned her, and she's like very calm, and she's giving these like, I don't know, like when a character's supposed to look kind of pretty eyes or whatever, where she's like, you have to keep her clean, she's getting older, and she, like, I'm imagining it, like, I can't hear her, obviously, because it's, like, everything's in a speech bubble, like, she's saying it really calm or whatever, like, she doesn't actually get mad at Link or anything, and she's, like, nice with the kids and stuff, like, she's just, like, really nice here, and then I remember not liking her in the game, like, I was, like, worried about when she'd finally pop up in the plot in here, and I'm like, oh, okay, she's fine. But yeah, we see a lot of, like, Link interacting with the townsfolk and the backstory about the pumpkins. I didn't remember the pumpkins were, like, the crop or anything, but it's interesting going through this where, like, Link can talk, where there's sort of, like, it's kind of helping me interpret things differently, where, like, Link keeps ignoring the kids and stuff because he's worried about, I think, the Golden Wolf and some of the other stuff going on about his backstory is clearly, like, affecting him and whatever. And then they end up getting kidnapped, and he's like, shit, this is all my fault. I ignored them and stuff. Oh, yeah, I want to talk about Link, actually. Other than being, like, haunted by his backstory, he's, like, a pretty, like, perky and fun guy. He's kind of funny, actually. It's nice to hear him with, like, dialogue and everything, especially because I remember in this game he doesn't like facially emote too much. Like I remember sometimes there's times where he smiles, but it's like not super visible. I think it's mostly when you pick up cats. They do have a scene where he picks up a cat in this. It immediately made me think about that from the game and like the cat village and stuff, and I kind of missed it. But he's like a pretty chill guy. unless things get serious or whatever, like he like locks in once everyone gets kidnapped, and he's like, I gotta go rescue them. And he finally starts using swords, and there's that like Bulbin guy on the horse. I think you have to fight him on like a bridge or something, if I remember right. Like as soon as I saw him, I'm like, wait, I remember this character, where he like has Colin. I think I remember it in the game too, where he has Colin like tied up somewhere, but then Elia's also there and she's like unconscious. I don't remember if she gets kidnapped in the game too. And I don't remember what happens to Epona, because like Link tries to like call Epona after she runs away with the kids and she doesn't come back. I assume because she ended up in like the Twilight Realm or something. I don't remember. But yeah, Link gets into a fight trying to rescue Elia and Colin, and then his arm actually gets cut off. So, you know, there's gonna be like more gore here and stuff. And then the Triforce activates, and one of the spirits of light actually shows up, and it was kind of interesting because, like I said, I don't remember what animals they looked like. Apparently, one of them's a goat. And then there's like an actual goat that shows up, because I remember that he reins in the goats. He's like a farmhand or something. But one of the goats like reattaches his arm or something, and then the spirit of light shows up and connects his arm, and then is like, you gotta go on your adventure. So his arm ends up being attached, but like Link doesn't even realize it was cut off, or like he thinks it was cut off, and because he was unconscious or whatever, and then he's fine. So that's just interesting that like it got just straight cut off, which makes me wonder. I wonder how beat up he's gonna be by the rest of the game. And then it ends with him where he finds like the gate into the Twilight Realm or whatever, and then the Triforce starts like activating when the shadow monsters show up and stuff, and then he gets pulled in. And then there's the scene where he gets transformed into a wolf, and Midna finds him, and it looks kind of like creepier in here, where it's like, it's almost like bubbles going over him, where he like is like reacting as he's getting transformed. He's like, what the hell is happening? And then he passes out, and then one of the monsters drags him away, and Midna sees him, and she's like, oh, hey, you got turned into a wolf as soon as you got in here. That's weird. You're gonna work for me now. And so I'm assuming it'll pick up how it was in the game, where you wake up in jail and she's there and she helps you out or something, and then it continues. So we didn't get to see like a ton of her, but I'm glad it like pretty much follows how the game goes, of like, other than the whole cutscene at the beginning where it spoils Midna's identity in this manga, but I appreciated having that, since like I already knew about it, and it kind of sets up the backstory of everything, of like, you know, what happened to the Twilly and stuff, and how they got sealed behind the mirror, and then actually getting to see Midna. I mean, you do get to see her in her true form at the end of the game and stuff, but it's not for very long. But actually getting to see her like do stuff, and she does try to stop Zant and whatever, and that was kind of cool, getting to see that. Kind of made me feel more bad for her. And then you get all the Link stuff, and I like that he talks. That was cool. I don't know how I feel yet about him having a backstory in this, of like this trauma of like losing everybody. I mean, I don't think it was completely his fault, of like he didn't want to go and pull the sword. It was pretty much how I expected, where it was like one of the other like guys that he trains with is like, let's go do this thing, and he's like, we aren't supposed to go there, and then he goes anyway and pulls it, and then this stuff happens. I wonder if it's going to be like elaborated more on later, because the sword isn't referred to as the Master Sword, it's referred to as something else. So I don't know. Maybe the true thing of this game will he be able to like revive his town, or is it just that he's gonna have to accept that Orden Village is his home now, or whatever? They do show Zelda in this for like 5 seconds, not actually like her, but they show like an image of her, where it's like Link is supposed to go and deliver the sword to the castle. I think, wasn't that in the game too, that he had to like deliver it and then something goes wrong on the way there? If I remember right. I don't completely remember. But they show her for like 5 seconds. I'm curious when she's going to show up. Because that was the other thing that kind of sucked for me, of like her as a character in this being my first game, where it's like in the other ones, not like every other Zelda game, of course, where she is like closer to Link. I think it's interesting how her relationship to Link varies depending on what game it is. Like in Skyward Sword, that's probably the one where they're the most closest, where you're like trying to rescue her and stuff. And then with Wind Waker, it gets pretty interesting. I'll just say that. And then with this one, it felt like one of the ones where they have kind of the worst relationship in that they don't really know each other or anything. If anything, I feel like the character that bonds the most with Zelda is actually Midna, to the point where they're like giving up their like life energy for each other and stuff. But Link doesn't really interact with her much or anything. And then it's interesting because, like, at the end, you know, I said I was going to spoil stuff with the game. I'm going to spoil stuff with the game more now, of, like, Midna leaving, and I was really upset about that. And I think Link was also upset. And he ends up, like, he's left there with Zelda and stuff. And I'm like, cool, this is one of the games where he gets to, like, hang out with Zelda or whatever. But, like, they don't know each other, so it's just like, damn, the better character left, you know? Like, I don't really remember her personality much in this game. I felt like she always came off as, like, kind of cold. And she always looked so, like, serious all the time. I mean, you do see her sometimes where she wears that, like, cloak for a lot of the game and stuff. Yeah, like, she kind of, like, acts as, like, a guide, and that's kind of about it. And she's, like, there for the final boss fight and stuff, where you're, like, doing it on horseback. But her design I always remember because it's the one that's always used in Smash, and I think, like, one of the times where she's not blonde. I do think it's a cool design, though. I understand why it's, like, used a lot. But yeah, that's the first volume. It's pretty good. Sorry I don't sound, like, super energetic. I did, like, just wake up, and I also, you know, I wish I could have recorded it. Like, I was so excited when I finished reading it, and I wanted to read the rest, and I'm like, no, I want to talk about this volume by volume at a time. And they all have different covers, so hopefully we'll be able to, like, get different thumbnails for this too. But yeah, as a start, it's pretty cool. I like the changes so far. I'm cool with them. Curious the most about Link, because, like, now that he talks and he can, like, facially react to things, I wonder how events the game are gonna go. I'm excited to see more of the, like, NPCs from, like, later on in the game, and, like, how is he gonna interact with like Imp Midna and stuff, because now they can officially start adventuring and stuff, because she finally, oh yeah, her design, you know, it looks the same. Oh, the fused shadow, I think that's what the helmet thing on her head's called. I was, like, trying to remember this whole time, because it, like, you find the other pieces and then it, like, morphs onto her face and stuff, like, it, like, combines together. But I like that on her it looks like a helmet and stuff. But yeah, she looks kind of goofy, like, pretty much the same. I like how they even have her little giggles on here too. It's like the like, I feel like I can, like, hear it as I'm looking at it. But I like how she's drawn with, like, a lot of detail when she, like, first shows up. Like, the helmet has a lot of detail and stuff. She's got her weird little fangs. It was kind of funny because I saw her there, and then I opened up the beginning of the book just to, like, compare how her design looks different. And nothing's colored, so there's, like, not really any, like, complete indicators of, like, okay, these are the same character or whatever. Like, if you didn't know, you'd just probably know, like, okay, the humanoid one's Midna, who's this weird little creature. I mean, to be fair, they have, like, a lot of the same, like, design things, though. Like, you can't see her red hair. That's the thing that's kind of a bummer. But she has, like, the same little, like, thingy that, like, separates her hair. I always wondered about her hair, though, because, like, in the, like, when she's humanoid in this and stuff, it's just, like, normal, you know? And it's, like, it's down, and then it's, like, divided into this little thingy. And then when she's, like, in her imp form, it's, like, this sort of ponytail. It's, like, it's, like, longer than her. And I always wondered about it. I wonder if it's gonna get explained how, like, her hand, I mean, her hair literally is, like, a giant hand that is used as a hand and stuff. Like, it's, like, essential in the game because it helps you, like, get higher onto, like, platforms and stuff. But I wasn't questioning that until right now. But I guess it makes sense. She has, like, her little, like, hands and stuff. Like, she almost looks like a chibi version of herself, but, like, scary. with like her proportions. But I mean, she does look similar. She's got that like, I always thought she was wearing some kind of like shirt or something in like her humanoid form that like covers her chest, but I think that's literally just like the pattern of her skin or something. But she has the same one like on her info. I'm like trying to compare them, but her design looks more kind of like weird as an imp now that I'm like fully looking at it. Like she has these like curly things that come out of her shoulders, and her arms are kind of weird where she has like the patterns from her. No, I guess it's hard looking at her actual design to figure out like what's clothes and what's like literally like designs on your skin. I don't know, but she has like some of the same like patterns and stuff. It's kind of interesting, like they're on her arms and legs instead of having that like piece of clothing she wears or whatever. And then I wondered about her ears. Like, we don't see her ears in the humanoid form in this because they're covered by that hood. But I wonder if they are pointy because she has like very clearly defined like pointy little ears like when she's in her imp form. I don't know because they don't seem like they poke out of her hood or anything in her humanoid form. And her little like tiara thing's gone too. I don't know. It's interesting to think about, but it's kind of nice to have both of those designs in the same volume where it's like I can literally just pull up both pages and like compare and contrast because you can't really do that in the game because like you like meet her as an imp and she's like her humanoid form at like the very 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 end. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. Sorry this was like half an hour. I want to go eat some breakfast. But I'm going to continue with these. I have the box set and there's like 11 of these, so probably shouldn't take too long. It just depends when I get the time to read and stuff. Because they're like the first one was pretty short. I read it in like, I don't know, half an hour or something. But I was also taking my time with like the artwork and stuff too. Like the art in this is like really good. It definitely holds up for like the games and everything. Everyone's designs are the same. It's pretty nice. But yeah, I think the big thing for me with reading this is like Link is more of a character now, and it isn't just like, you know, in the game it's like, you know, he doesn't talk and it feels like, okay, Midna is just kind of dragging him along. I mean, the game is called Twilight Princess. Midna is like the true protagonist of this game, not really. I feel like Link's kind of just like there as like her side character. Like you're the one that does all the work, of course, but the plot is like pretty much about her, and Link's there and Zelda sort of helps out, but she's not like involved in the story like a ton, you know. So I'm curious how it'll go with the manga where like now that Link can talk. I don't know if he can talk in like the wolf form though. I'm like curious about that as well. Or if he's just going to be silent. Yeah, but I'm curious if they'll get to like talk to each other and how their friendship's going to go down. And I wonder if I'm still going to cry again at the end when she ends up leaving. Dude, that hurt at the end of the game. Also because it was my first game too. But you get, like, she starts off as a jerk, of course, but you get kind of more emotionally attached to her as the game goes on. Or at least I did. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, see you next time. I don't know how often these are going to come out. Just depends on how fast I read. But I'm going to take my time on it and stuff. Alright, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.